Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this press conference following the annual general meeting of the IFAB. Sorry for the delay, but I know most of you enjoyed the Zurich weather, so thank you also for your patience. Before we start, some practical information regarding the channel translations. On channel 1, English, channel 2, French, channel 3, Spanish, channel 4, German. Our speakers today are FIFA President Gianni Infantino, Chief Executive of the FA Martin Glane, Chief Executive of the Irish Football Association Patrick Nelson, and Chief Executive of the Football Association of Wales, Jonathan Ford. Let's start, without waiting more, with opening remarks of the FIFA President Gianni Infantino.
Thank you very much, Fabrice, and also, of course, from my side, a very, very warm welcome to all of you for this media conference, for this press conference, following the 132nd IFAB Annual General Meeting. I don't know if any one of you was here when they had held the first, but it was 132 years ago, so it's quite a while. None of us was here. But we are here today, and together with our colleagues, we have taken, of course, some very important decisions today. Let me start by thanking all of you for being present, by thanking all of the participants at the IFAB meeting as well for their contributions, and of course the administration, the staff of IFAB and FIFA, and the KU Leuven, who made also the analysis, the academic analysis on the VAR test phase. So we had, as you can imagine, of course, a very intense morning, fully aware of our responsibility to take an important decision for football. Before coming to VAR, let me just stress one other point, which has been maybe a little bit forgotten, but I think it is also an important point, which is the famous triple punishment question that, as you might remember, was very heavily debated for many, many, many years, has never changed. 2 years ago at the IFAB meeting, 1 week after my election as FIFA President, we decided at the IFAB to amend the laws of the game in this respect for a 2-year phase, and to see whether indeed the triple punishment is too harsh of a punishment in certain circumstances. So we have implemented this over the last 2 years, and today we have confirmed, obviously, because feedback was extremely positive, obviously, that the triple punishment does not exist anymore in this respect as we knew it until 2 years ago. So that was a confirmation of something that has already been put in place for the last 2 years. Obviously, the important decision today was linked with the VAR, video assistance refereeing, and as you might have imagined or heard, today the IFAB decided to approve VAR for football. So as of today, video assistant refereeing is part of football, and this is certainly a very important news, because also this topic was discussed and debated for decades. And also here, 2 years ago, in 2016, in Cardiff, we decided to start with a test phase, because we were saying, well, you know, if we don't try it, we will never know whether it does or it does not work. And we made this test phase, we carried it out, we analyzed it, IFAB did it, FIFA did it, the 4 associations did it, around 20 associations around the world and confederations tested it. We had an academic analysis which was very, very thorough, and at the end of the day, the results of all these experiments and studies were conclusive, and we came to the conclusion that VAR is good for football, is good for refereeing. It brings more fairness in the game, and for these reasons, we have decided to approve VAR. So I think that's, of course, the most important step, the most important decision of today, which will certainly have an impact on football going forward. That's what I want to say for now, but I have much more to say on this, of course, and as, of course, my colleagues here on the table as well, I'm sure, going forward in the press conference.
Mr. Glenn?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I think we've agreed we'll all say a few words before we open to questions. So on behalf of the Football Association of Wales, I was delighted to be here for the 132nd International Football Association Board Annual General Meeting. Clearly a very historical meeting, a very detailed debate that's been ongoing for many years, but ultimately culminated in a decision being made by all partners, all parties to the IFAB, a unanimous decision to approve VAR going forward. Martin, Patrick?
Yeah, just a few words. I think we all agreed there's still work to do. So it's part of football. It's been trialled in just over 1,000 games around the world, which is great. The greater the experience competition owners have of running VAR trials, the quicker and better it gets. But there's still work to do, and that was the other part of the discussion, which was how do we make sure that we communicate what it is we're trying to do to fans and players to make sure that not only the principle is good, but the practice is good as well.
And all I would say is it's a very historic day, I think, for association football. It's probably, of the 132 annual general meetings, this would no doubt be in the top 10 or so in terms of making significant and historic decisions. Martin just touched on there the 1,000 games or so, and I would pay huge tribute to Professor Werner Helsen and the team at KU Leuven, who've provided a wealth of useful statistical data which enabled us to make that unanimous decision today that the time for experimenting with video assistant referees is over. And as the FIFA president says, they're here and they're part of the game and they're part of association football going forward. And so thanks very much to Werner and his team for helping us to get there.
Thank you very much. Before we start with your questions, I just want to inform you that there will be a second part to this press conference with technical experts. It's for you to know, but also for our speakers to be allowed to revert to these technical experts if they don't want to go into many details. Please introduce yourself and the organization you're working for. And let's start with Tas. Yellow pullover, yellow jersey.
TASS News Agency, Oleg Koshelyev. Question to Mr. President. When will decision of using the VAR on the World Cup will be made? And the fourth substitution as well.
Yes, by the way, that's, thanks for reminding us of that. The fourth substitution, as you call it, has also been agreed and is now also part of the laws of the game. The decision on the World Cup in Russia will be taken on VAR, and as well on the fourth substitution will be taken at the next council meeting on the 16th of March in Bogota. Obviously, as FIFA president and all the FIFA council members who were present, we all hope and encourage the council to take a favorable decision in this respect, because we are very positive about VAR, obviously.
Mr. Camara.
Yes, Ressa Camara. I'm Mauritanian journalist on football matters. FIFA has started a historical day, really, with the official introduction of VAR, but football is known as a universal sport. Why? Because when you introduce VAR, CAF had already introduced that at the Africa's Cup of Nations in Casablanca. It was a success, but Africa is afraid, given that football is a universal sport. And if it's not played the same way in Mauritania and other places in Africa, if not all the teams or all the federations for that matter have the possibility to introduce VAR, will football not end up losing out and losing on that universality that it has? Those who have the means will implement this. Those who are less favorable off will not be able to implement this. Aren't we not introducing a two-tier football universe here? Thank you for that question. I don't agree with that assessment. On the contrary, I believe that the decision that we have taken today is a decision that will help the universality of football. And we have also seen that during the test phase. It was tested in Africa, Latin America, North America, in Asia. It has been put to the test, obviously, in Europe. So in the course of the last years, we've already seen that it is possible, even at this test level, to introduce it and to put it into practice everywhere in the world. Obviously, and we're working on this matter, it will be necessary to ensure that this implementation or rollout phase of the VAR at a global level in the federations who wish to do so, that it is feasible, practical. We need to control the parameters in such a way to ensure that the quality is of the highest degree. And of course, we do not change the laws of the game, or we do not change the very nature of arbitrating there or refereeing. I think that nowadays we see televised matches everywhere in the world. And I believe that a couple of decades ago, when television entered the world of football and started showing matches, there was a huge debate around what should be shown on television, what not. And now we see that in this case, that the introduction of the VAR is done in such a manner that is possible and that is feasible for everyone who wishes to do so. Of course, it will take time, and the right protocol needs to be put in place, as I said. But there will be control modes, there will be certifications in order to ensure that the quality is guaranteed. But of course, the aim is to afford this to a maximum number of countries the world over who wish to introduce this. I think we are living in a digital age, in a quick-paced age, and we cannot be oblivious to technological advance. And if we can help referees the world over who are engaged in a very, very difficult task everywhere in the world, if we can help them take the right decisions, correct perhaps even mistakes that can naturally occur on the pitch, then I think we will have made a great step. It is certainly an effort, and we will put every means at the disposal of this effort in order to make sure that it takes place and that it is successful.
Remember, this is a referee system program. I mean, we are not in a situation where the game is changing. The game for both teams, whether you have video assistant referees or not, will not change. There is no advantage to any one team and no advantage to a team that is playing normally with VAR against a team that probably didn't have VAR. It's a referee assistant program. It's not going to change the game.
May I? Hello, Lorenzo Fontani from Sky Sport Italy. I have two questions from my colleagues of Sky UK that couldn't be here due to weather conditions. One is for Mr. Glenn. How do you respond to strong criticism of the managers in the last days in England? And one is for Mr. Ford. Mr. Ford, there were rumors that Welsh FA were very skeptic what can you confirm that you voted yes, and what can you tell us about this?
Yeah, thank you. Let's put the English test in a bit of context. We've run 10 games so far under the VAR protocol. That's 1% of the total sample that the IFAB reviewed today. And there's clearly a learning curve. And what you find, what we've seen in the Italian league experiment, the German league experiment, the Portuguese league experiment, is that you get a learning curve of experience and people make fewer mistakes as they do more games. So we've only done 10. By the way, most of those have been passed without any comment at all. And the kind of ratios that we're seeing in our small sample so far, which is 1 intervention in 3 games, has been laid out. So I'm not sort of going to ignore criticism, but I think we have to put things into context that it's only been 10 games, mainly FA Cup games, some EFL Cup games, and we need more experience before we get the levels of if you like, quality that Italy, Germany and Portugal have seen, but we will.
Just with regards to your second question, you're not wrong. The Football Association of Wales probably one of the more traditional members and probably slightly more sceptical. The decision at the 130th to start a 2-year experiment was something that was done with our blessing. And of course, we've been looking and viewing all of the details of the experiment over the past 2 years. Clearly today was a very important day and we understood the significance of the decision that we're making, not for Association Football in Wales, but on behalf of our role for the game on a global basis. The statistics and the analysis of the results was overwhelming. The results are very positive. I'm sure David Ellery will get into some of those details on the technical side. And of course, we took that decision very, very seriously. Of course, there are, as Gianni has said, there are 1 or 2 areas where there still needs to be improvement. There still needs to be control. There still needs to be good communication so that the fans in the stands, so that the people watching TV, so of course the players on the field of play know what's happening. And I think, bearing in mind we're at the start of this journey, I'm sure that over a period of time we will get better at doing that, and we will ensure that this becomes not only an accepted but also a very trusted part of the game going forward.
Graham Dunbar, then Ben Ramsby and Brian Homewood.
Okay. Question for FIFA President. Gianni, I think everyone accepts this is the long-term solution. Maybe the question people have got is it right to put it into the World Cup this summer? Is it too soon? We've seen us in the Confederations Cup with some of the best referees, there was confusion, the protocol wasn't worked out, and it can disrupt the flow of the game. We've seen England this week that perhaps a lot of top-level players will be going to the World Cup, don't have full faith in the system. What would you say in advance to the players and the fans who could be affected by VAR disrupting the flow, or even simple things like incurring yellow and red cards that are going to affect potentially the integrity of games at the World Cup? What do you say in advance to those people who would say FIFA's being too hasty, maybe even a little bit reckless in inserting this into the World Cup?
Well, I will say to the fans and to the players and to the coaches that, yes, of course it will have an impact on the World Cup, on the matches, and it will have a positive impact on the World Cup and on the matches. And this is what the results of the studies show. You will have all the details, of course, later on in the technical side, but let me just say that from the 1,000 matches that were, approximately 1,000 matches, live matches that were part of the experiment, the level of accuracy of the decision taken by the referees, which was without VAR 93%, which is already excellent, increased to 99%. It's not 100%. 99%, however, of decisions which, thanks to VAR, were corrected. And this is obviously positive. Now, it's almost perfect. It's not perfect. Perfection, I think, in our world does not exist, but we have to have the ambition to be as close to perfection as possible, and VAR gets us certainly closer. Let's not forget as well, you've been speaking about the flow of the game and the dynamics of the game. Let's not forget that, and I have to say myself, I came quite a long way. I was extremely skeptical, personally, on VAR. But then, as I said, if we don't test it, we will not know whether it works. We tested it, and I personally as well came quite a long way. And when you analyze objectively the results of the studies, you can see this percentage in accuracy, which moves to 98%, 99%, or 98.9, 98.8, 98.8. I go at 99. But this means we also still have 1% where we can improve to our experts. I can guarantee as well that, of course, the referees, which will be at the World Cup, will be ready for VAR at the World Cup. They have been trained in the last 2 years. It's not that nothing has been done by the team headed by Pierluigi Collina, Massimo Busacca. They have been working the last 2 years to make sure that the referees are ready. When we speak also, and this is also an interesting statistics for me at least, when we speak about the flow of the game, we can see from these 1,000 matches that actually the intervention of VAR takes around a minute on the match, on average. The time which is lost in every match, on average, on throw-ins, is 7 minutes. So a match is not played during 7 minutes just for the throw-ins, which do not decide anything in a match. If we can lose 1 minute, which anyway will be added on after the match or at the end of the match, to correct a wrong decision of a referee, then I think we have made something good. And for this reason, I believe that VAR at the World Cup will certainly help to have a fairer World Cup. Because if there is a big mistake of a referee, this big mistake will be corrected by VAR. It will not solve 100% of the situations. There are gray areas, if I make like this or if I make like that, whether it's penalty or not, it's up to the referee always to decide. The authority of the referee is not questioned, but we give an assistance to the referee. And the most important competition in the world, which is the World Cup, in 2018 can certainly not afford to be decided on a potential mistake of a referee. We have at least to do everything we can to put the referees in the best conditions to decide, to take their decisions in the best possible way. And this is a guarantee for all the fans. It's a guarantee for all the players. It's a guarantee for the coaches. Let's not forget that this was presented to the 32 coaches, of the World Cup at the meeting in Sochi, and they were all supportive. It has been presented at the Stakeholders Committee earlier this week with support there as well. You know, I've been hearing for many years that FIFA was slow, that IFAB was slow in taking decisions, in bringing the game to what the people want, and so on and so forth. I was probably also one of those criticizing it a little bit. I'm very happy today if we are criticized for being in the right speed, if I can say it this way.
Hi, Ben Rumsby from the Daily Telegraph. A question mainly for Gianni and Martin. Oh, sorry, do you want to say something? Or?
I mean, just onto the last question, the one stat that I think came out, which I thought was, you know, quite pertinent for the conversation. At the moment, without VAR, you know, there's a serious error that happens in about 1 in 3 matches. With VAR, that's reduced. It's not perfect, as we said. We're almost there, but to about 1 in 19 matches. And that alone does show that if this works, which it clearly does, it will ensure that we do get fairer results through fairer decisions. Sorry, Ben.
Question for Gianni and Martin mainly. The Premier League will vote next month on to whether to adopt VAR into the league from next season. The Premier League clubs, they will vote next month on whether to adopt. It's looking like that vote may not pass. They may reject VAR next season, which would leave them as the only major league in Europe not to have VAR. Given everything you've said endorsing VAR today, would that be a mistake by the Premier League not to have it next season? And are people who are critical of VAR, are they sort of living in the past, in the dark ages somehow?
Well, Ben, let's see. In all my discussions with people in the Premier League, I think they all can conceptually see the benefit of VAR in terms of improving decision-making. It's the most valuable league in the world, so the cost of a bad decision has got disproportionate costs, so a VAR would make even more sense. We've only had 10 experiences of VAR, so the Premier League, I think quite wisely, have chosen not to be a fast follower. Do learn softly, learn slowly, as they're doing with FA Cup and EFL Cup. And, you know, I think if they do choose to not implement it in the next season, it won't be a fundamental rejection of VAR. It will be a give it more time to build a bigger bank of experience amongst English referees who have done a lot of soft testing, but live testing is pretty limited, to give it more time. So I doubt it will be a philosophical rejection. The issue really that we face both in England, but I think across the world, is not absolutely clearly the use of VAR eliminates bad decisions almost entirely. Not totally, but largely. There are three issues as I see it. And that's what the English press are seeing just really on the back of a couple of examples in the 10 games. We have to speed up reviews, and linked to that, the communication to the crowd has to be better because people aren't really sure what's going on. So I think that's true in England, that's true across the world. And then more importantly, but I think this is an experience thing, we need to be much more comfortable about what is a clear and obvious error. So when David Ellery comes up, he'll talk about, the mantra is, minimum interference for maximum benefit. What happens early on, and we saw it in Italy, we saw it in Germany, is that the VARs are so desperate to get everything right and to support their colleague on the pitch, they're probably calling out too many things. So the principle of clear and obvious, and we saw that in the Rochdale-Spurs match, the disallowed first goal for Spurs wasn't clear and obvious, in my view, and was probably it was a mistake and should not have been called out. And that's fine. Let's admit mistakes. It's a test. Good. We learn from it. So I think the communication to the crowd, the speeding up of reviews, the flow of the game, the spectator spectacle, I think has all got to be worked on. But we've also got to have the confidence to sell it to people. It is a change, but it's actually a small change to make a big difference. And I think we can confidently sell the experience of some major leagues across the world, the academic study that has got evidence from 1,000 games. It's very compelling. And you have to believe that if it works in Spain, if it works in Italy, if it works in Germany, it will work in England and other big leagues around the world.
I can only agree, of course, because it is a process. We have to be aware of that, and you can certainly not compare the 300 games in Italy to the 10 games in England. It's a process. It is depending on training, on exercising, on having the right decisions being taken at the right moment, and that, of course, takes as well some time, and every competition organizer has to assess by himself to start with, and then he will be assessed by the FIFA and IFAB teams whether they want to implement it and when they want to implement it. And of course there will be and there has to be also a phase where these quality controls and checks and so on will be carried out, and when it can be implemented full speed. I don't know what the decision of the Premier League will be, as you say, will be taken in 1 month. Premier League has to decide, but as it was said, even a decision to not introduce it as of next season is not a decision to not introduce it. It's a decision to maybe take more time to make sure when it's introduced it will be, even better, even more developed, even more fine-tuned, and this is perfectly respectable and perfectly normal, and there is no issue with that, and it's certainly not the case that if somebody is against VAR, which is the last point you mentioned, he is somehow living in the medieval times or God knows what. No, quite the contrary. I mean, I was pretty much against it a couple of years ago, and I changed my mind because I studied it. I studied it in detail together with the team who has worked on it together. I mean, all of us together, we have really looked into all the details, into all the benefits that it can bring. And of course, we need to speed up the reviews. And we have seen that the more matches we have, the more this works, or the better this works. And we have to improve as well the communication to make it clear, not only to the referees who are applying it, because for them, you can trust on Pierluigi Collina and his team. For them, it's very clear when it has to apply, but also for the general public to make it much clearer than how it is communicated now.
And if I could just add something, and it's not to do with the English Premier League, but just thinking about competition organisers in general. What IFAB has approved today is the opportunity for any competition organiser to add VAR as part of its arsenal to try and improve decisions that are made. And as the FIFA President mentioned, the data that we've seen today suggests that out of the 972 games analysed, decision accuracy goes from about 93 up to 98.8%. So I think many competition organisers will look at this and they'll say, that's a good thing. And we need to think about whether it's right for us. But the thing we should also add to it, and I think David will probably speak about this later, is that it's very important that that planning is done carefully and that decisions are made in good time so that enough training and development of protocols within a competition can take place to ensure that when it is going into a particular competition that it goes in well. So I think it's important that we utilise the implementation assistance protocols that FIFA and IFAB will provide to competition organisers going forward, and that will help competition organisers not only make their decision but then plan the implementation of it.
Three last questions are for Brian Homewood, Philippe Sommer from ARD, and Marta Kellner from the Guardian.
Brian Homewood from Reuters. You've talked a lot about data and statistics and analysis. What would you say to the argument that it just doesn't feel right? It just doesn't feel part of football. It feels more like it should be in rugby or American football, especially in those moments where a player scores a goal. He goes off and celebrates, the stadium announcer celebrates, they go back to the kickoff, and then you see the referee with his finger in his ear and you're not quite sure what's going on. The coach of Lazio, for example, said that it's just taking, as far as he's concerned, it's taking the excitement out of Serie A, and he prefers the Europa League because there's no VAR. I just wondered, what would you say to that argument?
Well, it's your argument or the argument of those who... No, of course. Those who were used to complain about the referee, they will now get used to complain about VAR. So they have a kind of another target. It's not anymore the fault of the referee, it's fault of the VAR somehow. Because you need to have an excuse if you lose a match, obviously, and we don't want to take away this excuse as well. But, it will become of course, part of the game as well. I mean, we can see in the matches where the match is interrupted for the VAR and where the referee is going to review a scene, that this creates even an additional moment of emotion, of tension. Everyone is waiting. What will now the decision be? And then either you celebrate or you start screaming or whatever. But at the end of the day, what is more important for us, and jokes aside, of course, is that we can help the referee to take the right decision. We bring more fairness in the game with this. The one clear mistake that the referee does every 3 games, unfortunately, it's one of 50, 60, 70 decisions that the referee is taking every game. Once every 3 games, he makes a mistake. And that we can limit this to once every 19 games shows, for me, very clearly that we bring more fairness in the game. And that must be, for us as governing body of world football, but also for all those who love the game, finally, that must be the main objective. You have to wait, yeah, you cannot celebrate, you have to wait for celebration, but do you celebrate well if you know that you scored the goal on a clear offside position? You don't care, you celebrate if you are a fan. I know, I would do the same, obviously, for my team. But then when you are alone with yourself, you say, okay, well, thanks God the referee made that mistake, so we won the league or the cup or whatever. But it's not fair, it's not just. And again, if we can help the referee to take the right decision, then we have to do everything we can to do it.
Philip Sommer, ARD. Mr. Infantino, I'll ask in English. In how many leagues do you think will VAR be implemented in the next couple of, say, 3-4 years? We've talked about the world. It costs a lot of money. So how many leagues can really afford it? How many leagues will implement it? And can you understand people who say it's too early? For example, Alexander Ceferin, who says Champions League, we're not doing it. And is that a disappointment to you? Also, that 3 confederation presidents haven't attended the meeting today, and they were invited on such an important and historic day?
No, certainly not. I think that what is important is that we as IFAB took a decision to officialize the use of VAR in football. But at the same time, as we said before, every competition organizer is free, whether he wants or not to use it. It's an option. It is an option. It is an option that is there to help the referee. Everyone is free to use it or not. There are complications as well in putting it in place. It's not easy. Those leagues who have started to put it in place this season, like the German one, or the Italian one, or the Portuguese one, they have started their preparations well in advance to be able to start in this season. And we have to, realize that this is a complicated undertaking to introduce VAR in any league, in any competition, in a transnational competition, even more, obviously. But we want to give the option, we want to give the possibility, and then everyone is free to decide and to choose what he wants to do and what is best for his own competition. We believe that it's the right thing to do for football. We have today been undertaking tests and experiments in around 20 countries around the world. CAF in Africa, CONMEBOL in South America have done it in some of their competitions as well. So it shows that there is an interest. We have received several requests already from some other leagues and competitions to use it. I don't know how many will use it in 3 or 4 years' time. The important thing is, though, not how many will use it, but that those who will use it in the right way. And there we have to realize that this needs time, that it's not just we send you an email with the description and then you go and you use it. It's not working like that. It is a lot of training, a lot of work, a lot of experience, a lot of expertise. We need to make sure that the quality is assessed properly and decided properly, and that only those who are really ready to implement it can then also implement it. So there will be an approval process, and in the next few weeks we'll define the details of that, and we'll speak with those who are interested to put it in place. And then, time will show, as it has shown already in those countries who have implemented it, that if you start implementing it, it can only improve. It can only improve the game, it can only improve the fairness of the game. In Italy, we had 124 yellow cards less and 30 red cards less than in the previous seasons because of VAR, or probably because, or also because of VAR, because the players, they know that whatever they do, somebody, big brother is watching you, and you will not get away with it. So this is also a positive impact in the game, which I think we need to carefully consider. So from my side, as FIFA president, I'm very happy that we give this opportunity and this option, and I'm sure that all those who are studying it carefully, who are really digging into it, looking into it, as we all have done, they will be convinced about the benefits. And everyone will see it as we implement it and as we go on.
Martha Kellner from The Guardian here. Another question for Gianni. Is there a minimum number of games that referees at the World Cup would have to have officiated using VAR before they're allowed to do it on what is a stage of such epic proportions? And is there a worry that referees will rely on that technology and will have less confidence in their own decisions?
You see this gentleman there on the back of the room? Mr. Pierluigi Collina. He is, you look at him, he is the guarantee for everything that, that will work. You know him. He is a workaholic, he is a working maniac. He will make sure, together with his team, that the referees are prepared. Everyone can make mistakes. And as we have seen, even in the introduction of VAR, there is still the human factor, and the human mistakes can always happen. But as I was saying before, they are working since 2 years now with the objective of course, being ready in case it would be approved by IFAB for the World Cup as well. So they are undertaking all the workshops, all the tests with the relevant referees who will officiate at the World Cup, and they will call for the World Cup certainly only referees who they are 100% confident that they can officiate using VAR in the best possible way. Obviously, there will be referees who have more experience and referees who have less experience. And obviously, we will always face criticism, as we always did in the past, whether you have this referee from this small country who never officiates a big match, and how can he officiate the World Cup and whatever, and these kind of debates will remain. What is a fact, though, is that in all these tests that we have had, and also I think in the future application of VAR, there will not be, there can always be a wrong decision, which might be corrected, should be corrected, maybe not. But a correct decision, which would be declared wrong, well, this cannot happen, because a correct decision will only be confirmed. So there can only be a positive impact of VAR, but not a negative one.
Is there a minimum number of games, though? Is there a chance that there might be a referee who's only using it for the second or third time, that technology?
This I refer to, I don't know. You can ask Mr. Collina after, yes. He will explain you all the preparation of the referees for the World Cup.
Thank you very much. As I said, it was the last question. VR tells us that people raising their hands are too late. Sorry, but you have second chance because, as I mentioned, there is extra time for this historical day with technical experts. There will be high-quality substitutes. Be sure that they will. Thank you, gentlemen, for your participation. Thanks to you, and see you in a few minutes for the second part of this media event. Thank you.
In March 2016, the IFAB approved a 2-year experiment with video assistant referees, VARs. The overall aim of this unique experiment was to make the game fairer.
Welcome to the club. Welcome back. Let me introduce you our new speakers. Starting from far right, Johannes Holzmüller, Head of FIFA's Football Technology Innovation Department. Massimo Busacca, Director FIFA Referring. Pierluigi Collina, Chairman of FIFA Referees Committee. Zvonimir Boban, Deputy Secretary General. Lucas Prud, Secretary of IFAB. David Ellery, Technical Director at IFAB, and Mr. Professor Werner Elsen, who is from University of Leuven, who has conducted the research that has been very, very useful and discussed during the meeting. And we suggest that we start with you, Professor, to have a kind of universitarial statement. Please.
Okay, thank you, Fabrice. Ladies and gentlemen, the past 1.5 years, we worked very hard to analyze approximately 1,000 matches just to address the question, does the implementation of the VAR improve the game? Basically, we had 3 research questions. The first was about accuracy. Does the VAR improve the accuracy of decision-making? I couldn't have answered it better, as the FIFA president already did, because we could clearly see that from the initial accuracy of 93%, thanks to the VAR, we moved to 98.8, which is significant. As also mentioned by someone else, this means that from one clear error in 3 matches, we moved to 1 error in 19 matches. So I think in terms of accuracy, the results were very promising. The second basic question was regarding time. And I know this has been an issue lately that many people ask, doesn't it take too much time? Well, the average time of a check in the background is 20 seconds. And the average time of a review on field is about 1 minute. The top 5 of time losses in professional football are, first of all, free kicks, throw-ins, goal kicks, corner kicks, and substitutions, which takes much longer than that 1 minute. Maybe one more point, and this is the third conclusion about the impact of the game with respect to fair play. Well, both for penalty incidents, red card incidents, and goals scored, there was a clear contribution of the VAR with respect to the red cards given and players punished in the very same game, and the same was true for the other basic incidents. Finally, we also had a number of questionnaires asking referees, coaches, and players about the impact of the VAR on the game, and obviously, and I think it is not surprising, that referees were maybe most positive about the VAR, followed by referees, by coaches on the second place, and finally players in the third place. So I think these are a few conclusions maybe to start with.
Thank you very much. Should we start with questions? Andy Warsaw. And then Ben Rusby again.
Yeah, thanks very much, Andrew Warshaw. Is it okay to ask David a question, or do you want me to wait on that? Can I ask David Ellery a question? Yeah. David, 2 points, please. Number one, there have been instances where the referee, particularly during the English experiment, has contacted the VAR official either before or instead of looking at the pitch side monitor. Can you explain to us if this is supposed to happen and why it's the case? The second question is, I notice on the press release, it appears that IFAB have added a very important clause that is, as well as clear and obvious errors, we now have, quote, serious missed incidents. Could you elaborate for us, please? Thank you.
Yes, very happy to deal with that. Firstly, if it appears that the referee has made a clear and obvious error or has missed something serious, he will be alerted by the VAR. The referee can then decide to review that incident. There's no requirement that he looks at the replay himself. So there are two types of review. One we call a VAR-only review, where the referee can make a decision based solely on the information from the VAR. Typically, this will be a factual decision. A player was offside. A penalty was awarded for handball, but the ball actually hit the player on the head. A free kick was given outside the penalty area, but in fact the offence took place inside the penalty area. So that's the VAR only. Where the decision is subjective, and our experience has shown that where a major decision is changed, the players tend to accept more the referee on the day going and looking at the replay himself and coming back and say, I got that penalty wrong. So the referee always has the option. Does he rely solely on the VAR, or does he decide to look at the replay himself? In terms of the second one, from the very first edition of the protocol, serious missed incidents were always part of the protocol. These relate primarily to situations not seen by the referee. Usually, this is violent conduct off the ball or away from play. So that hasn't been added today. That has always been part of the protocol, because people have said, if you can punish a player during the game for doing something extreme that was done away from the view of the match officials, then clearly we should be able to deal with that as a serious missed incident.
Sorry, can I just ask a follow-up? So does that mean, please, that if the VAR official indicates that there has been a serious missed incident, that can be reviewed or annulled? In other words, not just serious foul play, supposing there is a missed incident that is subsequently spotted. Can a whole match be replayed?
Sorry,
if there's an incident that has not been spotted, whether it's violent conduct or anything else, what happens thereafter if it is not actually looked at the time?
Then exactly the same happens as occurs now. The authorities will deal with that after the match.
Maybe just one more fact and figure. In case of a VAR-only decision, the time is just 35 seconds, which is even much less than an on-field review.
More questions for David, if I may. I asked the panel earlier whether they felt it would be a mistake if the Premier League did not introduce this next season. Do you think they would live to regret it? Do you have any plans personally, or are you aware of any plans to lobby the voters of the Premier League to try and win them round to VAR to ensure that that vote does go through? And just in terms of the protocol, there seems to be some desire for certain parts of VAR to come into English football, particularly factual decisions about offside goals and mistaken identity, but not to have the subjective in there. Why not allow competition organisers to do that in order so that they will then be more positively disposed to bring in the rest going forward? And then finally, in terms of communication, big screens, Martin Glenn said that we need to improve the communication. Will competitions be allowed under this protocol written into law today to show replays on the big screen, to show the fans in the stadium exactly what the VAR is looking at? Sorry, lots of questions.
Yeah, quite a lot of questions. Thank you. We would never presume to tell any competition what to do. Certainly, I have no doubt, as Martin Glenn said and the FIFA President said, that those members of the Premier League, like any competition, will weigh up very carefully the global picture that we have so far of VARs, and then decide whether now is the time for their competition to embrace it, or wait until the system has been refined anymore. So I think we wouldn't say it's a mistake. We leave it to them to make that decision. In terms of having an a la carte view of VARs, that does not exist. Today it was voted that the VAR protocol would be incorporated into the laws of the game, and as with every other aspect of the laws of the game, they are universal for every match played throughout the world at whatever level. So a competition, if it wants to gain approval and permission to use VARs from FIFA and from the IFAB, will have to conform completely to those decisions which can be reviewed and not decisions which cannot be reviewed. So there's no a la carte option. Your final part about communication, this is the one area where we all acknowledge more progress needs to be made. In the protocol, there will be options for competitions in certain organisational areas, and how you communicate to the fans what's happening will vary from country to country. We know already some countries show replays of incidents, some don't, and this will again potentially apply to VARs. Like, one of the areas you have to balance is giving the fans information, but how will that information affect fan behaviour, coach behaviour, player behaviour? So this is quite a complex area, and again will vary from competition to competition.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. I would like to try to clarify something to avoid any possible misunderstanding. With all the respect for the National Association and Confederation would like to implement VAR, the final decision doesn't belong to them. They can make the application based on what was decided today by IFAB, but as quality comes first, we need the guarantee that the preparation program has been implemented properly by the National Association or Confederation before they go live. And this process, this preparation process, will be carefully monitored by IFAB and FIFA during the process and at the end of the process. And the final word will be an IFAB and FIFA word giving a sort of license to go live. Because, I repeat, we want the guarantee that the quality will be implemented. So it's not possible that someone decides from night to day to start. They have to fulfill all the criteria requested. These criteria will be monitored during the process, assessed during the process. At the end, it will be an evaluation. If the evaluation is positive, then they can go live in their competition. I think it's a guarantee. This is a guarantee that football needs, and we are ready to provide this kind of guarantee. And sorry, just to complete, because I was listening at the press conference before, and one of the questions that was put forward to the President Infantino was why UEFA is not starting with Champions League next season. I'm also the chairman of the referee committee of UEFA, so I have the responsibility of refereeing in UEFA. UEFA is simply saying that we are not ready. And this is a very honest assessment. How can we start in Champions League in 3 months or 4 months' time? How can we start the preparation today and be ready in August or September to start with playoff or the group phase? It won't be possible. We are realistic. We are concrete. And this is the answer given. We do not start next season simply because we need to go through the preparation of the European referees who will be appointed in Champions League. Some of them already operate with the VAR, like the Italians, like the Germans, the Portuguese. Some of other national associations already implemented partially, like Poland, like the Netherlands, like Belgium, like England. So they have some experience, but there are some without. So we need to prepare them. I repeat, it's something to guarantee that once the VAR will be implemented, it will be properly implemented to avoid possible mistakes. Sorry, interruption.
Question for either David, Pierluigi, or Massimo. Just on offsides, under the protocol, are all offsides considered to be clear and obvious, or is it only if a player is well offside? If, for example, if he's just centimetres offside, is that clear and obvious mistake or not?
It's a very good question. I think it depends on the accuracy of the technology that can provide the answer. Because in goal line technology, 0.5 centimeters is something that can be assessed by goal line technology, and an answer can be given. So if we have a technology that proves, I'm talking of course, positional offside. I'm not talking of interpretation. I'm talking of positional. So if we have a technology that gives us a final answer in terms of millimeters, this could be something that can prove that even a tiny offside is an offside. If we have not, certainly the assessment will be different.
Yes, Emanuele Saraceno for ANSA. Following the offside problem, it's the main problem of the VAR. If a linesman, an assistant referee, shows an offside and the player is not offside, that prevents a very good goal opportunity. So, Mr. Collino, Mr. Busacca, will you say to the referees before the World Cup, please don't use the flag, because even if the player is offside, then the VAR will show it, so it's better to leave. Yes, what will you give, which advices will you give to the referees?
Not only before the World Cup. It's something that has been already told the German referees, the Italian referees, the Portuguese referees. Certainly, if there is a doubtful offside situation and the assistant referee realizes that in a very, very short time a goal could be scored, is already now recommended to delay the flag, because, as you correctly said, if he raises the flag, he stops the play, and it could vanish a correct position, so a correct goal-scoring opportunity. So it's much better to delay the flag until there would be a goal, because we know that after a goal has been scored, we can check, and if there was an offside position, the goal can be disallowed. So it is already something given in terms of instruction to assistant referees.
Probably there is something more to add, and this is also a very important information, because it's a scenario that can happen. We can have in a situation, because, you know, this is a new way to decide, and as today is clear, it takes time. So since we implement VAR, we start an incredible preparation with the referees, especially with the assistant referee, that normally they use not to create a doubt in the situation. And in case of doubt, they already play on. So changing now what they did since many years, of course, is not easy. But they already have the criteria in case of doubt to play on. What will happen, or what can happen, is that in some situation, the assistant can even raise the flag near the goal, because for him he was sure. But what can happen, that the referee can delay the whistle and not whistle. So what will important that, as also the law say clear, before you don't listen the whistle, you don't have to stop. At that moment, you have a goal or no goal, and then, of course, if it's a goal, you will review. But I think your question was pertinent. This is the instruction we are giving to the assistant, but it's what they are doing today. In case of doubt, keep the flag down.
We have Philippe Sommer. Entschuldigung.
Hi. I have a question for Zvonimir Boban. Zvonimir, if the VAR will be assessed or will be implemented in the World Cup, we talked about a lot of problems still ongoing. I think Glenn said, for people in the stadium, of course, it's a problem sometimes that they don't know what's going on, what's even investigated. Also for people at home, at some stages, it was visible at the Confederations Cup too. Do you have a solution for that already?
But actually, we're talking only about the problems. not about advantages of the VR. So when you have a, I don't know, 98% errors corrected, and then you have one problem with speaking just about that. This is a problem of our age, I believe, and also of the media system of the general area in which we are living. So sometimes loudest authors just underlining the problems, they creating to us the problems to reach them with the real and correct information, with the facts. I believe that before we heard from the Professor Werner from the analysis, fantastic numbers. I believe that you should be really pleased with these numbers. So this decision, I turn into the decision, then I will respond to your question. Was taken really with great elaboration, respecting hugely yourself, the game, the fast, everyone. So, believe me, it was a tough decision to take, yes, but after the result that we had, it was even easy to go forward. So, about Russia, yes, I believe that here in this, we have much better people to respond to your question. Here's Johannes, Head of Technology Innovation of FIFA, so he can take over.
Thank you, Zvonimir. To answer your question, we're working in the background, of course, for the scenario that we will use VAR at the World Cup. And one of the elements is that we developed a kind of VAR information system. That means that there's an instant information going from the VOR, from the video operations room, directly to the main stakeholders, including, of course, to infotainment, the part responsible for the giant screen in the stadium, but also to the main broadcasters and commentators, that everyone is informed about factual information immediately. That means when a review is taking place, what is the reason for the review, what is the outcome for the review. So this is at the moment in the final developing phase, together with our broadcasters and together with different departments within FIFA. Sorry. Could you please? Yes, we tested it already at the FIFA Club World Cup. I think you can even Google for it. So where you have already the information, for example, no goal, offside. So this is the idea. We are, as said, it's in the final developing phase, and we are quite sure if it's approved for the World Cup, if you're using at the World Cup, that we will have a very good system in place for all the different stakeholders.
We have Andrew Warshaw, Oleg from TAS, Graham Dunbar, and the final question will be for Ben Ramsby.
Yeah, two more quick ones, one for Pierluigi and the other for David. Pierluigi, you said that you were perfectly comfortable with UEFA not implementing VAR in the Champions League because they didn't have enough time to prepare. But surely the World Cup is an even bigger competition, and they seemingly do have time to prepare. Could you answer that, please? And David, can I ask you a question that Marsha asked at the previous press conference? How many matches will those who undertake VAR at the World Cup have to have under their belts beforehand, given that this average of 55 seconds per decision seems to be brilliant in an ideal world, but doesn't exactly appear to be consistent? Thank you.
Yeah, I think so. Also, the second question is wrong. The second question is wrongly posed to David Elleray because it's not his responsibility, the World Cup. So maybe Massimo, just to share the answer, but if you wish, I can answer also the second. No, I'm perfectly comfortable. What has to be maybe explained, FIFA is not going to start tomorrow to work to prepare the VAR at the World Cup. Although the decision was not taken yet, we already started with the first tournament in December 2016. The Club World Cup in Japan was played with VAR, and before the World Cup 2016, we already run preparation for referees. So today is the 3rd, if I'm not wrong, of March 2018. We are working as FIFA. They were working because at that time I was not belonging to FIFA yet. So at that time, December 2016, they were already working with VAR. UEFA waited until the decision was taken. Today the decision is taken. So from now we might start preparing the future. So I repeat, I think it should be appreciated by those like you care of football that an honest and wise answer was given. We will start when we will be ready. It's a very honest answer.
So just to say something probably important, that all these candidates that start in this competition 2016 are those who are, let's say, in this group of elite referees already candidates for the World Cup. And after this competition, they continue the preparation, and all the candidates participate in under 20 with a very, very good results in South Korea, and then at the Confederation Cup. Then continuing, and we had a few important seminars, and in these seminars, we selected only those who today can give the guarantee to be a VAR. Just to give a number, after the first seminar, in the 36 or 37 candidates participate, we can really say that only 8, 10 after this seminar could be ready, let's say, to be as a VAR at the World Cup. So on the second seminar, we didn't continue to practice with those who didn't give the guarantee. We say, okay, you will be a very good referee, but you cannot be a good VAR. So we continue the preparation only with those that today can give the guarantee to be at the World Cup, because World Cup is not anymore an experiment. So we finish Doha only with those that are giving guarantee to be a VAR as a top referee, plus all the specialists coming from the member association that they are doing regularly every weekend. And thanks to God, we will have a centralization system, and of course, you will see many of those referees repeating, let's say, more games. And this is, in fact, what we are doing. So now, in 10 days, we start the second seminar, and only those who are working well will continue, let's say, to practice as a VAR. Because it's the new way to decide. It's not because you are a top referee, you can be also a good VAR. So it depends on the reaction, on the understanding. So that's why we need only, really, this guarantee. And this is what we are looking for.
A question too.
55 seconds. I'll deal with that later. At the end. Okay.
Question to Johannes, as you mentioned, FIFA is working on scenario that VR will on the World Cup. So when will be the system installed on 8 Russian stadiums which were not the venues for the Confed Cup? And should it be done up to official testing games? Who will pay for installation, and what will be after? Will it be a good present for Russia from FIFA?
So I can answer the questions about the technology, about payment and legacy. I have forwarded the question to Zvonimir Boban. Regarding technology, so scenario that we have at the moment, what we are planning and preparing is that we have a centralized video operations room in Moscow. But we also plan with backups in every stadium, just to be sure in case of any, and as we all are aware, technology can always fail, just to be 100% sure that we always have a backup, that we will have also a VAR room as a backup in each stadium. So this is the plan for the World Cup. We are finalizing it at the moment with the different technology providers, but everything should be in place for the World Cup. And of course, as it is very important, as we also did for the implementation for goal line technology, it's also important for us to test every installation at the end. So we will have tests in every stadium before the kickoff of each first match in every stadium. So as of the 10th of June, we will step by step then go through the different stadiums and test the equipment, the technology for VAR.
About the present for Russia, we didn't tackle this question. I believe that we can agree on this somehow, but we have to speak with the Russian Federation in order to understand the situation. But they are, what Lucas Brud, Secretary General of IFAB, said to me, they are very interested in implementation of the VR there, so probably the system of the system, I'm not so technological, I will stay, should stay there. Yes.
Just finish, was mentioned before by the President 2 days ago. I don't know if some of you were there in Sochi during the team workshop, and I had a couple of hours presentation with all the 32 representatives going to the World Cup. And one of the last topic we discussed, because the previous topic were not related with VR, because as you probably understood today, VR is not the most important topic for us. We are not investing only in VR. It means that today we have only VR. No. VR will be part of our decision, but we are going to develop and continue to take important decisions as a first and as a last. So that's, for that reason, we are going to prepare the referee in the best way. So we talk with the coach, and we say after the final whistle in Brazil, we start immediately to work for the next World Cup. And then at the last topic, we say we will have VR, and we show a couple of clips to say this is what it can happen in your game. We show a couple of clips under 20 that a decision could eliminate a team with 20 centimeters offside, but the team could continue in the competition, so made history, 20 centimeters. And then at the end of the presentation, all the 32 coaches, let's say, were convinced that VR should be used at the World Cup. They are really happy it will be. And then we finished, we went outside, one of the coaches said, Massimo, come here. I want to say something. Say, we know, be realistic when you talk. We know that VR today is like a baby. And they say, but baby is better to have. Because a baby can even help on something really important. And this was the answer. And this is what really coaches think today to prepare the most important competition we have in sports. That even one decision, and you remember all the scandal it happened in the past, only one decision can really change a lot in an important competition coming every 4 years. Only this, and that was the answer from the coaches.
Maybe it's good to say, if I would in their position, I would be very happy with the VR, a possibility to use it. For example, you have the best referees, you should choose the best referees for the best matches. As you have a man, then black man, that is called like this, doing very well in 93 minutes. Then in 1 second, what can occur for normal reasons and some human error, and then he should be paying it. He should pay the price, and you would then harm all the game. You would harm even tournament competition in not having possibility to deploy this referee in for the best matches. So this is a big protection, really, not only for the referees, but only for the game itself.
Graham Dunbar from the AP. To begin with, I can answer one of Massimo's questions regarding the presentation to the World Cup teams in Sochi. My colleague Rob Harris was there, but the media was barred from the room. We were not allowed to listen to the presentation to the on VAR to the teams.
We are thinking to do, when we arrive in Russia, because it's very important that you know all the information, because we want to be transparent. So you will see the exact information we gave to the teams, because you have to know also how things are working. Yeah. So, as we did in the previous World Cup. So, say to you all the information.
Yeah. The main question, again, to Massimo and Pierluigi as well, just a problem that could be particular to the World Cup, because in a national domestic league, I don't think this would be a problem. But at the World Cup, where, you know, without being rude to certain countries, you can look down the list of referees, and the players and the media and the fans will probably identify a few where they would wonder how many high-stress, high-scrutiny games some of those referees have been involved in. You've always said from the start of this project you don't want to undermine the authority of the referee who's on the field with the players. But isn't the reality with some of those countries, when you've got players who are, the majority who probably play in Europe, in Champions League, they know where the referees come from. They know that the Uber VAR in the box is probably going to come, it could come from France or Italy with more experience. Aren't they going to think that the referee has given some of his authority to that European VAR in the command center and has ceded control a little bit of the decision making, and the players are going to see this system and are going to, maybe not consciously, but just lose a little bit of respect for the player, for the referee on the field. And this is a problem that's built into the World Cup, not so much national leagues.
If I were to pay too much for the copyrights to David Elleray, so I can use some words used at the beginning, the on-field review, so the referee looking at himself, the decision, when there was possibly a mistake, is just because of this reason. Because he has to be felt by players on the field of play like the final decision maker. So if he is the one who goes to the monitor, checks the images, and then goes back and makes the final decision, he is the one who's making the decision. Differently, if you would see someone standing with a finger at the earpiece, listening at someone else, the perception you have is someone who's playing with a joystick, maneuvering from outside. And the perception would be the decision is taken by someone who possibly is more experienced and so on. This is what we want to avoid. We want to have the referee perceived as the final decision maker. Of course, on interpretation, because an half meter offside, positional, even my granddaughter can say this is offside. So you don't need to rewatch the incident by yourself. But when it's a matter of interpretation, it's much better that the final assessment is made by the referee himself through the on-field review, and at the end, he overrules or confirms his initial decision. Because after an on-field review, the referee can keep the decision because he doesn't find anything wrong in what he has seen on the images. I hope you don't bill me too expansively, David.
No,
doesn't cost too much.
I think, just to support that, one of the statistics Professor Helson gave us was the reaction of players, coaches and referees to the VAR experiment. And one question was about the authority of the referee, and it came across very clearly that players and coaches didn't feel that VAR had undermined the authority of the referee. So it's not at the moment within our trials seen as something which undermines the referee's authority.
The last question for Ben Rumsby.
Hi, it's three questions. One to Johannes, first of all, just to clarify, the system that you're working on, the information system, that will definitely not involve replays, video replays of VAR incidents on the big screen, so we can say now categorically that those video replays will not be at the World Cup. I just want to clarify that. One for Massimo on the readiness of referees at the World Cup. Well, I think one of the big fears in England is we are going to witness the kind of scenes that we saw at the Tottenham-Rochdale match on Wednesday, and we've seen other matches where there's long delays, where the players are complaining, where the crowd are left in the dark. Can you promise fans that your referees and your VARs will be so well drilled that they're not going to have those kinds of scenes at the World Cup? And then finally, one for David, completely off topic. What's going on with the handball rule that we heard a year or two ago was being revisited?
I can start. You want to start? Yeah, I want to start because, you know, I want to compare every team like every football team. If you have today an important coach, you say, what will be the results at the World Cup? You will arrive to the final? You will win the World Cup? So say, I will try. I'm doing many sacrifices. I'm working really hard. I'm explaining the players how they have to do. You show the tactical approach. But not every time the players will understand the tactical, and then they will lose 1-0. So this is football. I've seen the president mention that we cannot be perfect. I can give you a guarantee that we are doing all our best to permit to this World Cup to finish
on the right way, and to make all the sacrifice and to give all the opportunity to the referee to prepare this competition on professional way. Then, and we are very positive, and referee normally is positive, and that's why we accept this challenge, is because we are convinced that our referees are intelligent and are understanding what they have to do. But then I cannot give you a guarantee 100%, as any coach can give you a guarantee that he's going to win every game. He will promise that he's going to, prepare very hard, to explain exactly all the details, but then he can even lose 1-0. So this is football and this is sports. We are preparing well, but who knows?
Regarding the other question about the replays, so what we have tested at the FIFA Club World Cup and what is our idea at the moment is that after the final decision is taken by the referee on the pitch, that we would like then also to show in the stadium the replay, the selected replay that was used by the referee and by the VAR. So we also tested it already at the FIFA Club World Cup in Abu Dhabi.
May you explain the lines already?
The lines?
No, the wrong lines that we had in England, maybe it's not bad.
Lucas, you want to add something?
Regarding, probably an additional information about the offside line. So we also, of course, worked on finding the best providers and also tested a lot regarding offside lines. And we know that especially in some countries, and here to name England, that this also created some confusion in the past. So just to be very clear what happened in England, and I think you're all aware that the VAR received the right lines, but then what was provided to the broadcaster was created the confusion at the end. So also for us, it was an important incident because we realized the entire infrastructure again, because we have a similar infrastructure in place probably for the World Cup. So it was quite important for us, this incident, to make sure that we have the right lines, calibrated virtual offside line at the end available as a tool for the VARs and for the referee to clearly say yes or no, it's offside position or not.
Conclude?
Just to get some concluding remarks, really, to put all this in context, and it follows on really from what Johannes has said. Firstly, remember that 2 years ago, most of you sat there and we announced a 2-year trial. And many of you are saying, why has it taken football so long to get even to trying to use technology to help referees? A trial, by its necessity, involves trial and error. Every time something has gone wrong, it enables us to make our practicalities, our principles stronger. What we've had is a trial which has encompassed over 2,000 matches and an analysis of 1,000 live competitive matches of senior football, which has been a very good test for us. We're not complacent. There are areas that need to improve. Communication is one of them in stadium, and generally so people understand how VAR system works. One of the reasons we're, as Pierluigi mentioned, introducing a rigorous implementation process to get approval is because this is far more complex than most people realize. And we want to protect football and help competitions protect themselves, that they don't start using it until they are really ready, they are really prepared, and we are satisfied that they can implement it extremely well. Many of you are focusing on England. England's had 10 matches. It's nothing. Italy has 10 matches every weekend, and they've had 10 matches every weekend since the start of the season. So has the Bundesliga. If you do something once every 3 or 4 weeks, you're not as good at it as if you all do it every week, week in, week out. And our experience shows that the more familiar the referees and VARs with the system, the better everything gets. The number of checks is reduced, the time the reviews take is reduced, the continuing mistakes are reduced. So this is why we will have this very important implementation policy and procedure and approval process We'll launch that with a workshop in London at the end of March for competitions and national associations who want to continue using VARs and are considering using it in the future. So as a first step, they understand the complexities of this. It's not, as we sometimes say, somebody sitting at home with a cup of coffee in one hand, a mobile phone in the other hand, watching TV and giving the referee a call when something goes wrong. It is highly, highly complicated. But I just sort of take you back to just one thing about, is this a benefit for football or not? Our strapline has always been minimum interference, maximum benefit. Not no interference, because if we are going to review decisions, you can't do that in 1 second. Some reviews will continue to be lengthy, because sometimes there's more than one thing to look at. In one of our very first trial matches, excuse me, in America, there were 2 offsides, a penalty and a red card in the space of 4 seconds. They looked at 3 of them and missed the 4th, which was the mistake. So accuracy is more important than speed. But if we just finish, minimum interference, a review on average takes 55 seconds. You are only getting a review once every 3 matches. We believe that that is not bad in terms of minimum interference. Maximum benefit, if at the moment there's one clear and obvious mistake every 3 matches, and VAR says there's now only one every 19 matches, that is maximum benefit to the game. And if overall referee accuracy has gone from 93% to 98.8%, that is a great benefit. So we believe this system is delivering minimum interference, maximum benefit, but there are still improvements to be made, and we're very mindful of the need to improve it. But I think if I'd given you those figures 2 years ago and said within 2 years and 1,000 matches, there'll only be a review once every 3 matches, it'll take less than a minute, and referee accuracy levels will be 98%, 99%, you would have carried me out and put me in a white coat and said it's not possible. So whilst we accept criticism, whilst we accept that things aren't perfect, they will never be perfect in football. But the reason we are able to take a major decision today is that significant progress has been made to improve fairness in football by the use of video assistance, with minimum interference in the game, minimum interference in the flow and emotion, but maximum benefit in terms of referee accuracy, and something that most people forget about, improved player behaviour, as the FIFA president mentioned. Also, ultimately, this will be a weapon against match manipulation and match fixing. So it's not just about correcting mistakes, it's about improving behaviour, improving our game and making our game fairer in many, many ways. So still a lot to be done, but quite a lot has been achieved in 2 years.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. We wish you a good afternoon and a nice weekend if you have one.